The Timberwolves built their emphatic Game 3 win on the back of their role players. With Anthony Edwards having a quiet night and riddled with foul trouble, and Julius Randle having a good game but not a high impact great game, the Wolves needed their peripheral pieces to step up into bigger roles, and what we saw from Jaden McDaniels and Ayo Dosunmu was more than just stepping up. Don't get me wrong, this was a Rudy Gobert game, and a Dante DiVincenzo game, and even in some phases of play, a Bones Highland game. But these two were the two who revved Minnesota's engine, and they did it on both ends of the floor. I think it's only right that we start there with Jaden McDaniels. He's been the center of attention the past few days, and he walked the walk in this game. Like McDaniels often does, he popped defensively in this game, and it was the willingness to make Jamal Murray work for his possessions that stood out the most. He was really physical high on the court, beating him to his spot on the drive, and keeping Murray above the three-point arc, and forcing Murray to take contested shots after 15 to 20 seconds of dealing with the fatigue that physicality brings. And you could see that this was wearing Murray down. This starting movement where he gets up into his body both negates any ball screen and forces Murray to pick up his dribble and get off the ball, and it's energy sapping. Even when Murray gets it back, McDaniels is squaring him up on his side-to-side movements, so that even when Murray does finally get inside the arc, he's flailing and throwing up wild shots to finish possessions. It's obviously great individual defense from McDaniels, but it's also Minnesota's defensive plan. They want to tire out Murray. They want to pick him up full court, get into his body, and just make him change directions a bunch. Just watch the way he's pushing him out and out and out here, bodying him up at the halfway line, and then fighting over a screen to stay attached so that he can keep being physical and keep draining the energy from Murray. This is how Minnesota bends Denver into playing the way they want to play. Eventually, it just becomes a chore to just get the ball up the floor and run a simple pick and roll, so Murray tries to get off the ball and put McDaniels into off-ball action, and when he gets over that pin down as well, Spencer Jones probably feels like he has to move into that screen just to give his teammate a small advantage. Along with Rudy Gobert and his insane defense on Nikola Jokic, this McDaniels mania has been the foundation of Minnesota's past 2 wins. But in this game, we did get the McDaniels who can change games offensively as well. And the best version of this Wolves team is one where McDaniels is mauling teams off the advantages that his teammates create for him. Like if Denver wants to bring both 2 at Edwards and send the low man over to cover Gobert's role, they're handing Jaden McDaniels this driving lane on a silver platter, and that's a dangerous game for a defense to be playing. It does feel like Denver are trying to patch holes on the fly with their defense right now, but if you don't patch the McDaniels hole, if you leave him to sit in the gaps and show extra bodies to Edwards, you're going to leave these gaping driving lanes because they're all bad defenders and he knows it better than anybody. And this isn't specifically a problem that Denver have with just Anthony Edwards' gravity. They're all bad defenders, so they need to overload toward the ball so McDaniels can just sneak into positions where they can't recover back to stop him. The Nuggets have been pretty diligent on McDaniels in this series so far, but as this game unraveled in other areas for them, they drifted away from that, the gap help got a little farther away from him, and he started punching these gaps with more and more brutality. And this is what happens against a strained defense. They had to give up something, and McDaniels made sure that he could no longer be the guy that Denver give up on, and that only tightens the noose on Denver's defensive issues just a little further. The problem for Denver now is that this predicament gets even tougher to deal with, because now Ayo Dosunmu has found his groove in this series as well. We know he can be a blur in transition, but we hadn't seen that in full effect until this game, where Dosunmu really became part of the athleticism problem that Denver are fighting against right now. Whether off mates or misses, he was running it down the defense's throat, getting to the rim, and forcing Denver to foul or watch a layup line, and he finally really felt like a transition difference maker for this series. It doesn't matter if there's 3 guys getting back in front of him, they're all bad defenders, and that seems to have clocked for him as well. The really encouraging thing for Dosunmu in this game though was what he did outside of his transition points. First of all, Minnesota now has an Ayo action that Denver cannot stop. This ghost flare set, where DiVincenzo ghosts the ball screen, while Gobert sets this flare screen for him, has now been a thing we've seen work multiple times over the past 2 games. If it's Jokic there in the paint, he isn't going to provide any rim protection, and if it's anyone else, the ghost and flare screens bring Gobert's defender higher up the floor and leaves a wing there having to slide over, and that's not enough when Dosunmu has a full head of steam going downhill. There was some other really fun stuff in the half court from Dosunmu as well in this game. This possession was probably the smoothest of the night for Minnesota, and Dosunmu starts it with this baseline dive. That kicks Denver into rotation, where they have to get out now to Jaden McDaniels. Ayo relocates to the opposite corner, another closeout comes at him, and he can blow by it and get to the rim where there's no resistance again. Attacking off the bounce is a must for Dosunmu, especially against Denver's zone. If the top of that zone shifts over to McDaniels here, and Murray isn't quick enough to shift with the zone, that's free eats for Dosunmu with a big lane like that to get into. Or if Minnesota have Randall at the top of the key and Denver feels obliged to send a double off Ayo at him, again, he's got to be there able to attack off the bounce, and that's exactly what he did in this game. Again, it's just the defense trying to plug holes and not having enough hands to do so. Now, Dosunmu's defense wasn't as loud as McDaniels was, but I thought this was his best defensive game of the series so far, particularly on Tim Hardaway Jr., who has been a thorn in Minnesota's side. Like McDaniels, it was just the ability to be physical, to blow up these screening actions, and to force Denver away from those Hardaway-centric actions that they're trying to run. I thought these 2 defensive sequences really attest to his night on that end of the floor. Here, he's really alert onto this low man help rotation, and as soon as he can release, he's back onto Hardaway Jr., physical, getting skinny over this handoff, and forcing a really tough contested shot. Dosunmu has had some issues checking Jamal Murray in this series, but that doesn't mean this chaser type role isn't super valuable. Again, he's out stunting at Jokic to give Gobert time to recover, and when they flow back into their handoff, he wedges himself in that gap to blow it up and completely brain dead Denver's offense. McDaniels and Dosunmu were always going to be X factors in this series. The way they play is kind of the antithesis of what Denver like. And if this is the new normal going forward, where they're running and punching gaps and being super impactful as defenders, then that's another step toward Minnesota finding a way to take down this vaunted Nuggets team. If you like this video and want to see more like it coming up during the playoffs, subscribe to the channel, like this video, or give me your takes on this game in the comments below. Thanks again for watching.